What's up and welcome to the video. So a few weeks ago we filmed our review over the Galaxy S23 Ultra. It's an amazing smartphone from Samsung, top of the line, has all the bells and whistles, but it also comes with a Ultra price tag. Now today we were talking about the little brothers in the lineup, the S23 Plus and the regular S23. And when I say little brothers, these are absolutely still flagship phones, right? This phone starts at $799 and this phone starts at $999. So they're not budget, they're not mid-range. These are absolutely flagship phones and they are excellent. There are actually a couple things I like about these even more so than the Ultra. So let's get into it. 23 and 23 Plus. Now, if you haven't seen our review over the S23 Ultra, we'll leave a little pop-up on screen for you just so you can watch it and get a better picture of the lineup as a whole. Because the three of these phones do have a lot of similarities. Like they share a lot of similar components, like the chipset that they run on internally, the One UI version that they run in terms of software. And of course, the Ultra, being the biggest phone in the lineup, is going to have the biggest screen size with the highest screen resolution. We'll get to that later. The Ultra has the biggest battery. And in terms of the camera system, the Ultra is going to have the most amount of lenses with the highest megapixel count. So whenever you look at the other flagship phones like the 23 and the 23 Plus, the question naturally becomes, what are these phones bringing to the table that you're not going to find on the Ultra? Like what the differences are? And that is the main focus of this review. I just want to say the first thing I noticed whenever I was using these two phones, especially considering I have two SIM cards, right? One is always in an iPhone, one is always in an Android phone, and I carry both with me all the time. The first thing I noticed whenever I started using these two phones, with my SIM card still being in my Ultra, the ergonomics on these phones, phenomenal, right? There's something to say about a phone that feels really good in the hand. I love my S23 Ultra, but I can be objective. It's incredibly unwieldy, especially if you're going to use it with one hand. And I have large hands, right? These two phones, they feel great in the hand. They're lighter than the Ultra is, but they still feel really, really well built and put together and really sturdy. And there's just something to say about a phone that sits really nice in your hand. It makes you feel comfortable enough to use it one-handed. And we'll get to more about this here in a second. Flat displays on both of these phones. I'll take a flat display over a curved display, a slightly curved display, whatever the case may be. It looks great, it feels great. I love the ergonomics on the 23 and the 23 Plus. They're fantastic. As far as the displays themselves go, on the 23, 6.1 inches, Full HD Plus, and it's an AMOLED panel. And on the 23 Plus, 6.6 inches, again, Full HD Plus, AMOLED panel as well. So if you're looking for something like Quad HD 1440, that's going to be reserved for the Ultra. But what I will say about the quality of these two displays are they're absolutely fantastic using either one of these phones. And the regular 23, it's smaller, packs that resolution into a smaller size, so it actually has a higher pixels per inch density for the display. Both of them look fantastic. There's never been a point in time where I've looked at them and thought to myself, you know what this could really use? A 1440p Quad HD display. They're fantastic looking screens, and you can tell they're made by Samsung. They're super punchy, vibrant. The saturation is definitely there as well. And all the other flagship goodies are there too. 120 hertz refresh rate in the display, ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, all that great stuff. So all in all, it might be Full HD Plus, but still absolutely a flagship level display experience. Now we mentioned that these phones run the same exact chipset, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy, along with the same One UI experience, which means that their performance is essentially identical to the Ultra. It's flagship level, it's top tier, it's absolutely everything you need for 2023 and well beyond for a few more years at least as well. It's incredible. What I do think is worth mentioning though is that depending on which phone you go with, you're going to have different storage options and even different RAM configurations. So let's start with the S23. So the S23 starts out at 128 gigs of base storage and it tops out at 256. Regardless of which storage option you go with, you're working with 8 gigs of RAM. Now on the Plus, you start out at what the regular tops out at. So the Plus starts out at 256 gigs of storage and has a maximum storage option of 512. This again comes with 8 gigs of RAM, regardless of which storage you go with. And as far as different RAM options. If you want more RAM, you have to go with the Ultra. That starts at 256, has an option for 512 and even 1 terabyte. And if you want more RAM than 8 gigs, you have to go for 512 or 1 terabyte. So there's a whole bunch of stuff to consider internally whenever it comes to how long you want to keep this phone and how much storage you want to use. With the two of these phones also being smaller phones than the Ultra, it means they're naturally going to come with different battery sizes as well. So on the S23, we're looking at 3,900 milliamp hours, and on the S23 Plus, we're looking at 4,700, which is actually still pretty sizable. It's only 300 milliamp hours smaller than the Ultra. Now, when I reviewed my Ultra, I had absolutely no problems with the battery life. Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy combined with One UI 5.1 was absolutely fantastic, and the same holds true for either two of these phones as well. Naturally, when you have a slightly smaller battery, it's expected to last less on a single charge than a phone that has a larger battery, right? Both of these were able to still power me through at least 1 day's worth of light to moderate usage, and they both charge super fast, granted you have the correct charger from Samsung. So if you're concerned about battery, I don't think you should be on either one of these. And I think as a whole, Samsung has done a great job of improving battery life across the entire S23 range compared to last year's S22 range. So you'll love to see it. And as far as the camera systems go, I think Samsung did a really good job here of just nailing it in terms of like, they give you the hardware to take great photos, but it's not anything in terms of like real big flashy numbers or things that are going to try to blow your mind with large megapixel counts or anything like that. So let's recap what you have on the back. 3 lenses, 50 megapixel wide angle, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel telephoto that's capable of 3 times optical zoom and 30 times digital, or what Samsung calls space zoom. And the photos are their flagship level. They're exactly what you expect from Samsung though, meaning that like some photos, and like you'll see them as you know, they pop up on screen, but like some photos as you're taking them, you'll look and you'll be like, wow, that is incredibly saturated. Like there was a photo I took of my dog while we were out for a walk, and if you look at like the sky behind him, it's such a rich blue color. It definitely was not that color whenever we were out walking. So in terms of like color realism, whenever you're taking these photos, it might not be exactly what your eyes are looking at in terms of accuracy, but these are absolutely social media ready posts. And what I like to say about Samsung cameras are they take photos that you want to look at or print out and put in a frame. Not necessarily the most accurate photos, but either way, they're still flagship quality. They're still great to look at. And in terms of video recording capabilities, those are all here as well, including the option to record at 8K 30 frames per second. So good camera system, flagship level, not trying to blow you away with something like 200 megapixels, still really, really good. So that's it. That is the Galaxy S23 and the S23 Plus. And as far as the colors that I have here on the table, I believe this one is called Lilac. This looks fantastic. And obviously this one is the green color. Now, as far as pricing, I know we already talked about storage, but as far as pricing goes, so the S23 starts at $799 for the base storage configuration, and the S23 Plus starts at $999 for the base storage configuration as well. And I gotta say, using these phones, especially alongside the Ultra, because I still have that as well, but using these phones, I really, really like these phones. And it's kind of a shame because I feel like phones of this magnitude, they're flagship level phones, but it's almost like the Ultra gets so much attention, so much commercial time on TV, so much marketing material that it gives off this illusion that like the Ultra is the flagship model, and then these are kind of just like, hey, if you don't want the flagship, like we have these available as well, when that's absolutely not the case. And at least here in the States, right, every time I'm watching TV or something like that, the only time I see a commercial for a Samsung phone, it's the Ultra. Anytime I've ever seen a commercial for these phones, it's from a carrier saying, hey, trade in your old Galaxy and you can get this new Galaxy for free. They're not really talking about the features that these phones come with or any of the cool things that these phones bring to the table. And I think that's a shame because these are absolutely fantastic. So I would say if you're holding on to an old Galaxy phone and you're thinking about upgrading to these, and you can look past the flash and flare of the 1200 plus Galaxy S23 Ultra, these are absolutely a fantastic buy. I've really enjoyed them and I think they're great phones. So if you've enjoyed the review, Do us a favor and hit the like and subscribe button down below if you're new. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. And the same AMOLED quality display. Now, if you're looking for something like 1440 Quad HD Plus, that's only going to be available on the Ultra. But what I do say